Welcome to the Ask Faleskini podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Bryan Clayton from Nashville, Tennessee. Bryan is the co-founder and CEO of GreenPal, an online marketplace that has been called the Uber for lawn care by Entrepreneur magazine. Before starting GreenPal, Bryan founded Peachtree, one of the largest landscaping companies in the state of Tennessee. Bryan's interest and expertise are related to entrepreneurs, small businesses, growth, marketing, and bootstrapping businesses from zero revenue to profitability and exit. Bryan, please tell us more about yourself. What is your story?
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, so I'm CEO of a company called GreenPal, which is an app that works like DoorDash or Postmates or Instacart or Uber, but for lawn care services. So if you have a yard, you need somebody to mow that yard. And normally, how you would do that, you would mow it yourself, or you would call around on Facebook or Yelp or something like that. And you would have to manually get quotes and have somebody do the service for you. Well, with GreenPal, you just pop your address in, and then lawn mowing services nearby you compete over your lawn care. And then you hire them and schedule them right through the app, and it just happens like magic. And GreenPal is a 10-year overnight success. My two co-founders and I have been at this for a little over a decade. But now the app is nationwide in the United States with around 300,000 people using it to get lawn mowing and growing 30-40% every year. So, and we haven't raised any outside capital. So that's how we built it. And the first business I had was actually a lawn mowing business. I started mowing grass when I was a teenager in school, and I stuck with that lawn mowing business for like 15 years, grew it up into a decent sized company, around 150 employees. And I sold that company in 2013. And that was kind of the inspiration for GreenPal. I saw how inefficient the business worked. And I thought somebody was going to build a marketplace to make this work better. And why couldn't that be me? And recruited two co-founders, and we haven't looked back since. So that's 22 years in kind of this one industry, from the blue collar side and now the tech side.
Okay, that is a really impressive story. What I like the most about your story is that you did not go for a seed capital and then first round and second round and all these, let's say, popular ways to finance business. And I would like to discuss that because I really like how you go and make a business grow out of the business itself, out of the profit, not from the outside cash. Can you tell us more? What is the secret of growing business without an outside financier, either loan or equity investor?
It's challenging. It certainly is, especially when you have a type of business that requires a lot of upfront things to be built before it can even work in the first place. And that was one of the kind of catch 22s that my business was in. We had to build out this big platform that connected buyers and sellers, and we had to kind of like hunker down and do that for a long time with very little revenue. And so the challenge is how do you do that and fund it off of its own revenues? And so the reality is that you kind of have to be scrappy. You have to be lean and mean. And what we were faced with was our personal kind of burn, our personal financial statement, if you will, was also the business's financial statement. And what I mean by that is there's a quote by Mark Cuban. He says, "The least you can live on, the greater your business's options." And so my two co-founders and I, we just lived in the office. We you know cooked cooked our own food, lived on like a $10 a day food budget. Drove, one of our co-founders drove for Uber like nonstop because we would take that money and pay developers. We were just very, very scrappy with how much we spent personally because we needed like no money to survive. And we kind of became cockroaches in a sense that you couldn't kill us. And that's how we survived for 3 years while we built the platform and got, every single customer we could to use it, and then used their feedback to build something kind of they wanted. And when you do that, when you self-fund a business, it clarifies your thinking in a way that makes it very simple to understand what you need to prioritize on, and you need to prioritize on the customer because you need the customer to stay alive. Whereas in a weird way, that kind of gets distorted and perverted when you go and raise capital, because now you have all this capital in the bank and you kind of forget about the customer. And then you get sidetracked and build all of these things that the customer doesn't really want. And then that's kind of where a lot of startups get off track, and what causes a lot of them to not make it. So for us, it was challenging, but I believe that's why we are still here, and why we've kind of crossed the chasm, so to speak, and have built something that hundreds of thousands of people use.
So according to me, that is the most healthy way of building business. And I especially like your comment on you have to know what to prioritize and how to do it. But I would like to know, as a successful founder, I would like to know why mass media and all the YouTube shorts and everyone is pushing for small businesses to get loans and to get outside funding for their businesses. And another thing I would like your point of view on is why people post as successful when they got funded and not post as successful when the exit is done. Why are all these, let's say, wrong point of views and I would even say damaging point of views so dominant in internet and in the mass media? What's your take on that?
Yeah, from my perspective, in the last 10 years of being kind of in startup land and seeing a lot of these companies that raised a bunch of money and then go out of business in 18 months. The raising of the capital is exciting. It's sexy, and the press wants to write about it, and that does attract a lot of attention. Whereas the founder that's not raising any money, that is sitting somewhere in a windowless office and just working 12, 15 hours a day, that's not sexy. And
Mhm.
so nobody wants to write about that. Nobody wants to create any content around that. And I think that's more or less just human nature. That's just the way it is. If you watch any movie about entrepreneurialism, where there's like The Social Network, or the Founder, about Ray Kroc, the part where they actually build the business is set to like a musical montage. It's like that part is not exciting. Like
Yeah.
the the Founder, the movie The Founder, where Ray Kroc builds McDonald's, like the part where Ray Kroc actually like builds McDonald's is skipped over. It's all this other stuff that is exciting, and these moments, and because the reality is, like, that would be a really boring movie, and it would be really really not exciting, and so nobody really wants to talk about that and write about that. So you can't get sidetracked about what success is, and the theater of success. If you want to raise money, and that's the path that you want to go down, do it, but do it for the right, do it for the objective of, okay, we need this capital because I know if we put $1 million in here, we can get $10 million out on the other side. And so that's kind of how you have to think about it. Now, if you do raise capital, you do want to get that attention about your business. There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't want to think about that as a successful event in and of itself.
Okay.
A matter of fact,
I will push you in the other direction because you're extremely diplomatic about it. I would like to talk about the unpleasant side of entrepreneurship. You mentioned some. Okay, I had $10 a day food budget.
yeah, yeah,
I do believe that this is the most important part of entrepreneurship, at least in my experience, where you have to prioritize things. And even more important, you have to give up on a lot of things just because you're focusing on your business. What's your take on that? How important is that in a personal development sense for entrepreneur to get in this situation? And of course, most of them will not make it through. You're a superhero because you manage it. You have a successful people with all 300,000 clients. You're nationwide, and you're really a role model for that. But what would you say about this battle? You mentioned that it's not glorious, it's not fun, but how important is for the personal development and personal growth that you go through all these moments when you doubt yourself, when you're not sure that you're gonna make it, but you just push it a couple more days because maybe the next client will come tomorrow. Can you tell us more about these feelings and how you managed to overcome them? What made you pessimistic? You said you were in business for 20 years already, so you know that there is a business case about it. But in a time where cash flow is low, how did you push it through? What was your secret?
Yeah, I think it's something that inside of you where you really want to see this business exist, and it's something in your DNA. You have a chip on your shoulder, or there's something about you as a person where you want to see this exist. If you approach entrepreneurship as from the same dynamic and mentality of working a job, you are not going to make it because it's a very very different journey, and it's a full contact sport. It's 7 days a week. You're always on. You're always thinking about it because you're kind of always doing three things at once at all times. You're working in the business. You're just trying to hold the business together. You're answering customer phone calls, emails. You're just trying to hold it together. You're working in the business. And the second thing is you're working on the business. You're trying to figure out, okay, how do I build systems to make this thing work better? And how do I build processes to make this thing automated? And how do I actually build a damn business? So you're working on the business. And then the third thing you're doing is you're working on yourself. You have to read books. You have to go to conferences and try to listen to people who have done things that you're trying to do, listen to what they have to say. You have to go to YouTube University and consume content from people who have done what it is you're trying to do. You have to listen to podcasts from people who are talking about the actual execution of things that you're trying to learn how to do. You have to level up. You have to learn new skills, and so you're doing those three things at once at all times. And if you're just working a job and you're working a career, you don't necessarily have to do all three of those things. You kind of have to do maybe one or half of one of those things. And so that's the reality. Is like it's a full contact sport. It's 7 days a week, and it's always on. And you don't really understand that until you kind of get in there and figure and see it for yourself. And then you kind of have that gut check moment of, okay, do I really want to spend a decade of my life and make some trade-offs around relationships and family life and finances for the short term to build something that in the long term is going to be better for me, my family, my personal livelihood, the marketplace. People need to use this service I want to build. And you know, it's not a smart bet for most people. It's really kind of a crazy bet. And when it works out, it's great, but 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. But that's kind of what you need to know that you're signing up for before you start this. And it's funny. I saw a meme the other day where it was a picture of a clip from the movie Oppenheimer, and it's Charles Oppenheimer, and it's a scene from the movie where he's sitting in his sitting on in like his couch or his sofa, pondering something really, really like just really pondering something. Like he's probably pondering the creation of the atom bomb or something. And on below the meme, it's like a tagline, and it says, "Me thinking about quitting my corporate job uh, because I've had enough to just go start a coffee shop." And so, what the author of this meme is, I think, communicating is that, I've had enough with corporate America and I'm going to go start a coffee shop because that's the good life. And what the author of this meme does not understand is that they will work 10 times harder for half the money than they ever did in their corporate gig to get this damn coffee shop going. And it will be 7 days a week, and they have no idea what kind of bee's nest they're about to step off into. And so that's what most new founders don't know, and that's what they're confronted with. And if you can kind of get over that, then I think it's a better path. But it's something that's not talked about enough.
Okay, you mentioned Mark Cuban before. Who were your other role models when you were building business?
I think it's important when you're looking for role models and mentors, to seek out people that have done what it is you are trying to do. So we're flooded in a world of kind of like gurus and coaches and mentors that are giving advice, and some of it's good, but a lot of these people haven't really built or done whatever it is that you aspire to do. And I've noticed this. And so what I really try to do is I try to go down the long tail and figure out, who built another similar type of platform to GreenPal? Who built another network that operates at a local level that connects buyers and sellers? Who's done that? And okay, well, Brian Chesky at Airbnb, they did that. Let me study them, and let me listen to everything that they've ever talked about, and not necessarily what they're talking about today, because that's $150 billion company. They might as well be on Pluto today, compared to where I am. But let's let's look at the stuff they were talking about in 2010. Because that can help me understand the dynamics of connecting buyers and sellers at a local level. And so really trying to like go down the long tail of who's done what it is you're trying to do, learn from them. For me, people like Brian Chesky, founder of Airbnb, people like Travis Kalanick, founder of Uber. Um, those guys were really kind of trailblazers in inventing ways that things happened in the real world from a screen, from a phone. Because before that, this the computer interface was more about, bits. It was more about uh, technology, in a sense that bits move back and forth. When those guys came about, it became about atoms. You pushed a button, something in the world actually happened. And that was inspirational to me. And I've applied kind of a lot of what they did to my little humble world of lawn mowing.
Have you ever hired a coach or a consultant for your business?
I've hired consultants. I've never hired a coach. And consultants are helpful, not in the sense like, uh, not consultants just to come in and just like in like the connotation of consultant you think about, and it's like it's not good. When I say consultant, I mean somebody who really has been there, done that, executed at a super high level, who can take a look at what I got and tell me what I'm doing wrong and help me kind of course correct. And so in that sense, they kind of are a coach, and they are a consultant, but they're also a practitioner. They are doing this. And so let's say, like, you hire a rock star, um, content marketer that might make, $500,000 a year. Well, we can't afford to pay that person $500,000 a year, but we can afford to pay them, $1,000 an hour for 2 hours a month of work. And so they come in as a consultant, as a coach. They look at what we're doing, and they help us kind of execute with our team at a higher level. So that's how we utilize that. Coaches in a sense of like a CEO coach, no, I've never done that. It's just not really my style. I know a lot of people have had help doing that, but it's not really my thing. I'm more like nuts and bolts. Let's get down to business. What can you help me do to execute on this thing that we're struggling with? That's how I think about business.
Okay. Did you have a mentor, someone that you can talk to while developing business? Did you have one person or multiple people that could help you when you needed to talk with someone?
I did not have a personal mentor that I could reach up, call on the phone and say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this problem. what do you think? I did have and still have people I respect who I can call for advice. Where I've gotten a lot of help is what I would call asynchronous mentorship. And what I mean by that is, like I mentioned earlier, people who have executed at a super high level, who would never speak to me on the phone, who don't have time to speak to me on the phone, but who put out content, and I can consume that content, so I can learn 90% of what I would get from an actual one-on-one lunch or coffee with them passively from the stuff they put out there. Guys like Reid Hoffman, who have been putting out content for 20 years about growing a company. I mean, it's all there. You don't have to have like a phone conversation with these people. It's all there. And so that's where I've gotten a lot of benefit. I would rather do that. I would rather spend my time um getting that information and getting that passive asynchronous mentorship than like hitting somebody up at a local level who hasn't really executed at a level much higher than me that I'm not going to get a lot of benefit from. So that's how I think about mentorship.
Okay. Do you plan to offer mentorship in the future? Because I do believe that you're looking at a great exit in the future, and then you'll have all the times, uh, all the time on your hand, and
Well,
you're looking to
so,
prepare more content.
so I built and sold a business once already, and who knows what's going to happen with this one. I'm enjoying running it, and I'll keep running it as long as I'm having fun. And I do offer mentorship to a handful of founders as a hobby because it's fun for me. I love seeing people prosper. I love seeing people get over problems and challenges and get from here to there. Like that's just rewarding for me. And if I had some little small piece of help with that to me feels good. So I don't do it in like a structured intentional way. It's more of like an ad hoc type of thing. But yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll do more of that. Right now, growing this company, we're trying to get this to 1 million users, and so it's all I can do to push this thing forward. But I still do it, and I try to hold myself accountable to donate, if you will, 5 to 10 hours a month of my time, helping founders get from where at a point in time where I was to where they're trying to go. I don't ever try to give somebody mentorship on something I haven't done. I'll tell them you're talking about $100 million in revenue. I've never built a business that big. But if you're trying to get your first million, like, hey, here's how I did it. And so that's important when you're trying to get mentorship, either actively or passively. Make sure you're talking to somebody who has done what it is you're trying to do.
Okay. Thank you very much for all these insights. And is there anything else you would like our listeners to take from this interview? Any quick tips or trade secrets that you can share with us?
I think it's it's the best time it's ever been to start a business. I think with tools that we're now seeing like I think we're starting to see a moment where we're going to have the supercharged solo founder, the guy or gal that is able to do what normally took a 5 or 10 person team, they're able to do by themselves, and they're able to make, whatever, $1 million a year in sales. That wasn't possible 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. So new things are possible that never were before possible. So take advantage of that, and that's get in the game, because only when you're in the game do you have a shot. So get started now.
Thank you very much. Where is the best place that our listeners can reach out to you?
Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn, find me on Instagram. Bryan M. Clayton is where I hang out on Instagram. Anybody want to check out GreenPal, just go to greenpal.com. And yeah, that's where I hang out.
Thank you, Bryan. Thank you for all the insights, and thank you for being my guest tonight.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.